In this edition of In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, our special guest is Brian Callahan, fresh off a thumping of the Baltimore Ravens. Put 41 points on the board, over 500 yards generated, 11 plays of 21 or more yards, including an 82-yard touchdown catch by Jamar Chase, where he showed as good a contact balance as any running back has in the National Football League. This offense is operating at a high level of efficiency. They're getting it done. Third in the league in terms of yards per play, seventh in the league in points scored. Go to New York, get another dub. That's what's on the docket with offensive coordinator Brian Callahan. Have you registered for the First Star Logistics In the Trenches with Dave Lapham sweepstakes yet? Man, First Star Logistics has gone above and beyond the call here with prizes. How about $3,000? An iPhone 13. Dinner with me, two of you, and probably my wife at Jeff Ruby's. Can't beat that. Then how about autographed football and a couple of tickets to a Bengals home game? You can't go wrong. We're talking the holidays coming. You got to register for these prizes. Welcome to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics once again, and we are emanating from the beautiful studios here. And a privilege to be joined by offensive coordinator Brian Callahan and coach. Man, masterful. You were the mastermind of an offensive exhibition that was pretty incredible against the Baltimore Ravens. When you generate over 500 points and 500 yards, I should say, points, that would be unbelievable. Over 500 yards offense against the Ravens and 41 points. I think it's the most that they've ever given up under John Harbaugh at M&T Bank Stadium. That's a heck of an accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun to be a part of. I think it's a testament to our staff and to the players. We worked really hard to get a good plan together for those guys. They're really difficult to get ready for. I've got a ton of respect for Wink Martindale and John Harbaugh and that team. They've really beat us down pretty good over the last couple of years. We've been here, and so to go there and play well the way we did was very gratifying for the work that was put in. Guys worked really hard to get ready for this game, and we put a plan where we felt like our players would be in position to have success, and they went out and executed it, and it was really fun to be a part of.
I can't imagine. I mean, the amount of hours that you coaches put in on a weekly basis is ridiculous anyway. But when you have to deal with the sheer volume of what both of these coordinators do offensively and defensively, I mean, offensively, Baltimore has more runs than anybody known to man, I think, and more different formations and personnel groupings and looks, and then throw it. And what Coach Wink Martindale does defensively is such a big volume. I mean, how many hours did you guys put in putting together that game plan? It had to be ridiculous.
As many as it took.
Did you get any sleep?
No, not a lot. It was a long week, but it was good. It's what's necessary. It's what you said there. It's the volume. There's teams that give you problems because they got good players. There's teams that give you problems because they got a sound scheme. They may not necessarily be difficult to prepare for in terms of the pressure packages and stuff like that, but Baltimore's kind of has both. They have great players, and they have a great scheme, and they have a lot of scheme. And so it's just the time on task it takes to sift through everything and make sure you're sound versus every look and every possible blitz. And you always know that whatever they show you, they're going to have a counter. And so you sort of have to project some things, and you got to be ready to adjust in the game. And I thought our guys did a great job of that. But that's what makes them hard. Is it's really good players with a really multiple scheme and a lot of different looks that you got to make sure you have all the answers to, or at least potential answers, so the players can be in a good spot to go execute.
Do you, during the course of training camp, do you kind of sneak time to maybe prepare on with some of the things that Baltimore might do, or Pittsburgh or Cleveland, division opponents, these big important divisional games, but Baltimore's so different because of the reasons we just talked about. Do you sneak time in training camp? Do you sneak time at all during weeks when you're playing other teams to maybe just look at a package to Baltimore, just so guys have some sort of a foundation? It's not all having to be done in that week, or how do you work that?
Every year is different, so it's hard to think whatever you saw on last year's tape is going to be what this year presents. And
Right.
so what we spend time on all our division opponents in the offseason and just making sure that we've watched everything they've done and are aware of their packages they have. And you always keep track of how they upgrade their teams through the draft and free agency. But really, there's no other substitute than just burying in for the week on the opponent when they come up. I tried to start Baltimore a little bit earlier just because I knew how much work was ahead of us. I start maybe on a Friday or Saturday prior to the game, so an extra couple of days. But most of the time, you just dive in when the week starts, and however long it takes, it takes. Some nights are longer than others, and there was some long ones this week. But our staff did a great job. I mean, I thought the way the guys worked and helped put together the plan in the red zone with Troy Walters, and then third down with Dan Pitcher. James Casey helps with the pressures. So those are all guys that we all lean on each other, just like you do when you're playing. You're relying on your teammates, and we rely on each other to get the right plan together with a lot of different eyes on different things. And so we got a great staff and a great working relationship amongst us all, and it's a lot of fun to go to work every day when you got those guys with you doing it.
Joe Burrow mentioned after the game that the only team in the division that he played twice was Cleveland. He played much better the second time against Cleveland than he did the first time. The first time he played the Ravens, he got hit a bunch, sacked. It wasn't just him. Obviously, the offensive line had their issues, as well as backs and everybody in the protection part of it. And he didn't play, Pittsburgh twice. And now, when he got to play Pittsburgh and Baltimore second time, he beat them and he improved dramatically. He's one of those kind of guys that, man, once he sees something now, he doesn't forget, and things start to formulate for him. How much better did he handle everything there was to handle in this football game against the Ravens?
So much better, mainly because he learned a lot from that previous experience against that team. I think you see, Zach had mentioned it at some point this week, but you see teams that don't play in this division play against some of our divisional teams, and they don't really know what they're up against until they see them. And when you get the benefit of playing in the division, you know what you're up against. You know what the problems are. They're very physical teams. They're very well coached teams, and they're big and strong and fast. And there's a lot of things that go into this division that make it really challenging. But we all feel, I think everybody in our division feels, that if you can come out of this grinder at the end of the year on top, then you got as good a shot as anybody to win it. Because you're battle tested against really good teams and really good players and really good scheme. So we spend a lot of time and take a lot of pride in being able to handle our division, because there's only one way to the playoffs, and that's through the division. And if you want to be all the things that we all want to be, you got to do it in the North. And our players believe in that. They buy into that. They understand how big the games are, and they understand the level of preparation that's necessary. And, they do a great job with it. And so you have the familiarity of knowing what you're going up against. It helps you get ready to play those teams, especially when you see them twice a year.
So you had guys, I mean, like Joe Burrow, like we said, just had played against Baltimore once, but, got exposed to it. Jamar Chase hadn't. Riley Reif, even though he's been in the league, this is his 10th year, he maybe played against them sparingly, if at all. Jackson Carman hadn't. Quentin Spain sparingly, he hadn't been with the Bengals all that long. All these guys that you had to kind of get on the same page, how difficult was that?
I think it's any season that you start when you got new pieces and new players. It's how everyone's in a race in the NFL, and you're in a race to the end, and you're in a race to get your team as good as you possibly can, as fast as you possibly can. And it's really a credit to those players. They've done a great job in communicating with each other, getting to know each other faster, getting comfortable with the scheme, understanding what's expected, and how they go about their business. And those guys are pros too. The guys, Riley Reif and Quentin Spain, those are pros. They understand how this business works and how to play at a high level of football. That's their job, is to help Jackson come along and learn how to do that. Jamar Chase, I don't think's ever lost. I think he's just won every time he's ever stepped on the field for the most part. So I don't think success is foreign to him. And so whatever he's been doing works, and he's going to keep doing it. But he's learned too. Troy's worked really hard with him on on setting a routine and being disciplined throughout the week and doing the same thing every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, not buying into all the hype. Keep your nose down, keep your head down, and keep doing the things you're doing that have gotten you here. Don't stop doing those things. And so he's had great mentorship from that regard. And I think that's helped him. And I think it's helped him stay consistent. But that's his personality too. He just loves playing football and loves to work. And there's not really much else that distracts him.
So, Coach, I mean, early on they were effective. Martindale had a bunch of guys in the box as usual, and they were twisting and turning and stunting, whatever. And Joe never panics with the football. But you could see, some things weren't comfortable at that stage. But once the offensive line settled down, you started winning some one-on-ones on the perimeter. Then you started exposing the middle of the football field. What was the key? What was the first domino that had to fall for you guys to just kind of methodically start to take them apart a little bit defensively?
I think Jonah had a couple of missed sets early in the game and gave up a pressure or two and a hit. Not a big deal, but just had to settle in against Justin Houston. We got hit on a pick game where they picked Jackson. Jackson didn't he kind of quick set and got picked.
Yep.
We gave up a pressure on that one. And then, some of the routes we ran, we didn't win the one-on-ones.
Yep.
Early in the game. They won, and that was to be expected. We knew it was going to be a challenge to go out there and win those one-on-ones consistently. But our guys answered the bell. Once they settled in and figured out how they were being played and the technique those guys were using, they settled down and we started executing the way that we thought we could.
I mean, Coach, the numbers are crazy. 520 yards offense, 8.3 yards per play. Joe Burrow right now, by the way, 9.23 yards per attempt. I mean, in this game, it was 10.5. 9.23 yards per attempt, second best in the National Football League. Lots of big plays. 17 touchdowns, tied for fourth most. Number 2 in the NFL in touchdown percentage, ratio of touchdown passes to passes thrown. So efficiency there. 5th in quarterback, ranking. It's amazing. As an offense, and I'm not obviously talking about anything you don't already know, but the fact that you're 6.2 yards per play, third best in the NFL, and then in the top 10 scoring as well, 7th at 189 points. So, I mean, you're so efficient offensively. Is that the goal? Obviously, I mean, is that what you're striving to be? Is like not, don't have to necessarily run a bunch of plays, but we want to be efficient with whatever we have.
Yeah, that's what's happened for us. Jamar has really helped us in the explosive element, which is really what we've been missing the last 2 years. The ability to take a slant 80 yards for a touchdown and not have to go, I think at one point last year we led the league in like 10 plus play drives. That's a hard way to score points in the NFL.
Yep.
And with Jamar and Joe's improvement in his second year has really unlocked the explosive part of our offense. It's changed the way people play us. It's changed the type of boxes we get in the run game. It's changed a lot of things. And when you can score in 4 plays, your efficiencies are always going to be way up. When you force people to play middle field open coverages, well, your run game efficiency is going to go way up because they're missing the extra hat in the box. All of those things have, I think, contributed together to us being much more efficient and in turn explosive. And when you can score touchdowns at anywhere on the field, it makes it hard on a defense. They have to be leery of that and aware of it. And I don't think anyone's going to ever go into a game not knowing where Jamar Chase is lined up. But by the way, we got 2 other guys we think are Pro Bowl caliber players in TB and T Higgins, and CJ Uzomah is having a career resurgence as far as just his production in our offense, and Joe Mixon is one of the best backs in the NFL. So all of the things we envisioned for ourselves going into this season have come to fruition is about as good as we could have hoped for. The way those guys are playing up front, Quentin Spain and Trey Hopkins coming back from his ACL, which I don't think gets nearly talked about enough, is both what Burrow and Trey have done to play at the level they're playing at, coming off those injuries.
Yep.
CJ Uzomah as well. I mean, he's coming off an Achilles injury. So a bunch of guys came back and played at a high level. And, we expected that we know we have talent. We know we have good players. And ultimately, I think we have an excellent quarterback. And we know all the things we were capable of. We just had to do them. And thus far this season, we've done them. some games better than others, but that's our expectation.
CJ Uzomah, 17 catches, 5 of them touchdowns, and some long distance. I mean, his efficiency as a tight end, he's averaging over 15 yards a catch. I mean, he's leading the NFL in average yards per catch for a tight end. It's unbelievable what's happening in that regard.
Well, success is contagious too.
Right.
Everybody, all of a sudden everything starts rolling and everybody starts getting on the action. I've been a part of these before. We had some seasons in Denver that were very similar to how this feels. And you just guys start making plays, and everybody else wants in on the action too. And then it's a competition amongst them all. Even if they never say it, they all want the production and they want to be a part of it. And they play hard. And when the ball comes and they get opportunities, everybody's making the most of those opportunities. So it's really fun to see. It's fun to watch those guys go to work.
So, Coach, does the run set up the pass? Do you pass first to set up the run? Do you do both? I mean, from one game it might be one game it might be another. Because you'll hear people have fights, arguments about it. You got to run the ball to set up the pass. You got to pass. It's a combination, isn't it? I mean, it's never just one thing, right?
No, it's by game plan too. It's where do you think you can take advantage of a defense. I've always subscribed to the philosophy that you got to be able to throw the ball well to score points. There's not a lot of teams that just run the ball well that score at the rate that you have to score in the NFL these days. So I do think you have to be a very prolific passing team to be a great offense. But I think you have to be just as efficient in the run game. And I think that a lot of times you see, which is what's happened to us the last couple of weeks, is we've thrown the ball at various points in the game to gain a lead, and then we've run the ball to finish it out. And that's a lot of times how it works. And that's how you get a chance to pound somebody at the end of the game when you're trying to close the game out. You're not worried necessarily about scoring points. You're worried about taking time off the clock. That's where you can see a ton of production in the run game. Is those linemen love that. They love being able to go out there and just bash somebody's face in for the last 6 minutes of a game. That's a lineman's dream. So again, I think ultimately it's specific to the game and how you want to start and what you think is the advantage, but you got to be able to do both.
Okay, so let's move on to the New York Jets, because I know you guys you're in the midst of putting together the game plan. This is a big game plan day. Obviously, Monday and Tuesday are huge in that regard. When you've finished, or you're in the process of studying tape on the New York Jets defense, what jumps out at you? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Their front's fantastic. The two interior, they got a rotation of interior guys, but 94.
Fatukasi?
Yeah, Fatukasi, and then obviously Quentin Williams, drafted at that third overall pick. I mean, those guys, they're explosive. They're tough. Their defensive ends are not names that you might know in your fantasy draft, but they play hard. They play crash nines and they disrupt. They're a 4-down penetrating disruptive front, and they are a really difficult team up front to get ready for inside. I mean, they're really good. And I know that they don't, their record overshadows that for them, but they do a great job. I know a lot of coaches on that staff too, guys I got a lot of respect for, that I know, they know what they're doing. And the corners are guys that you never heard of. They're young guys, but they play well. They don't give up a lot of explosive plays on a game-by-game basis. They do a good job of keeping things in front, and they don't do a ton of different things, but they play well. And they've had some injuries at the linebacker spot that have hurt them, but it's an NFL team. They play really hard too, and it's a team that we better be ready for, because we got to go on the road, and we got a chance to go 3-0 on a 3-game road swing, which would be a huge deal in the NFL. Our guys are ready for it, and you can never follow a big win like that with a letdown. So we got to keep our foot on the gas and keep rolling and get ready for a Jets team that I have a lot of respect for on defense.
I see they're starting 3 rookies, and 1 at linebacker and 2 in the secondary. And they were starting 3 rookies offensively until Wilson gets hurt here. And now Mike White is his 3rd year in the league, but they're starting a couple of rookies on that side of it. How are those young guys playing on defense?
Pretty good. They make rookie mistakes like all rookies do. You see them learning and getting better every time they play. And so when they're in a position that we were essentially 2 years ago, where you're taking over a program and you're trying to build the type of people you want, the type of players you want, and you're letting your young guys gain the experience of playing and competing and learn how to be good NFL players, and they're doing a good job. And so it's one of those experiences that you just, having been in that spot, you know what they're trying to get done. They're hungry, they want to win, and they're well coached. And so it's, you got to, there's no easy games in this league, as you know. There's you better come ready to play. You're gonna get knocked off, and we can't let that happen. We've done too many good things to go on a road and lose a game to the Jets. And that's not a disrespect thing. It's just where we're trying to head. We can't
Right.
we can't afford a setback at this point. We're trying to keep stacking wins and keep ourselves in the conversations that we want to be in at the end of the year. So our guys are focused and we'll be ready to go.
It just asked the Tennessee Titans. I mean, that overtime loss is almost inexplicable now, but in the NFL, at different times of the season, different circumstances, different matchups, different injuries, whatever the case may be. Final question, Coach, and appreciate your time that you're spending here with us, because I know it's a big game plan day. How big is the Frank Pollack factor? The fact, not necessarily, all new staff, new schemes and all that, but Frank knowing the offensive lineman that he coached, knowing the defensive lineman that he worked against when he was in one-on-one pass rush and 9-on-7 with the linebackers line. How big of an advantage might it be for Frank Pollack to be able to give you a little bit of scouting rendition on some of these players?
I think it's an advantage. I mean, anytime you've been in the building with guys and you know them, it always helps. It's always different when you don't know a player and you don't know the personality, you don't know what they practice like. But he's very complimentary of all those guys that play on defense. He thinks that, just like I do, those interior guys are potentially as good as you'll face as far as their explosiveness and strength and power and the style that they play with. So it's, Frank's knowing them is helpful. At the end of the day, he can probably help those linemen some with maybe some of their pass rush moves or whatever it is that they pick up. But, at the end of the day, we still got to go play, and it's going to be those guys versus us, and whatever knowledge we think will help us. We hope it does to some degree, but those things don't generally change the outcome of a game, but they do help.
Coach, good luck. What is it, 75 points? I think it's 75 points in the last couple of weeks. I mean, you guys are scoring machines. Detroit,
keep it up.
Yeah, Detroit on the road, Baltimore on the road. One final, I can't believe that the first time Zach won a game when minus in the turnover ratio is on the road in Baltimore by 24 points. Go -1 in the turnover department. That's shaking up a 55-gallon drum of butt whip and spraying it all over the Ravens, Coach.
It was a fun game, and those statistics usually don't bear out. I mean, usually you lose a turnover battle, you can lose the game.
Right.
It's over its history. It's pretty well determined that you lose that battle, you're gonna lose 80% of the games you play. So
right.
It's a rarity when it happens, and really I think most of it was because it was a turnover that happened a little later in the game, and we already had a pretty sizable lead at that point. But
true.
Turnovers. It's one of the things we're working to eliminate. We've turned the ball over a little bit more than we like. I know Joe's really irritated about some of the interceptions he's thrown. Some he has no control over, but those things bother him probably more than he finished the game and I went to say congratulations, and the thing he was most mad about was the interception. He wasn't happy at all. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You want to be focused on the things you can get better at. So that's one of them.
And one final comment about the team: 30 penalties, 254 penalty yards. 30 penalties, tied for third fewest. 254 yards, second fewest in the league. You guys are so disciplined, particularly the last few games. I mean, the discipline, both sides of the ball, has been outstanding, Coach.
I think that's a testament to the intelligence of our team. We have a really smart team overall, offense and defense. Guys know how to play within the rules. They know how to play with technique, which I think is usually a lot of the penalties come from poor technique, the holding calls and those types of things. And our guys do a really good job of keeping their composure. We don't get into any kind of pushing and shoving and all that stuff. You could argue Trey Hendrickson was flirting with that rule a little bit there at one point, but I think we have a smart team, and smart teams generally don't make mistakes like that. And if you want to be a good team in this league, you can't turn the ball over. You can't be penalized heavily, because that's how you lose games. And I know that the old Patriot adage always was you have to keep yourself from losing before you can start winning. And I think that our team has done that. We don't lose games by the things that we do. And I think that's the penalty portion is huge, and I think it's pretty cool that our guys have been able to stay in that high part of the league and efficiency of no penalties. We almost got away with 0 on offense.
Yeah,
was I flinched at the end there, but
yep.
We
It's
almost
the only penalty of the game.
Yeah.
Only penalty of the game in the fourth quarter. Unbelievable.
Yep.
And three plus quarters, no penalties, no sacks, no turnovers. I mean, you go, like you said, at that point when that stuff started to happen, you're already in control of the game. And that's the big reason you're in control of that football game.
There's no doubt.
Yep.
This part of being disciplined.
Yep. Coach, can't thank you enough. You're the best. And
It's always a pleasure.
It's great talking football with Brian Callahan. Any chance I can get, you're the man. Appreciate you.
Always fun to be on. Thanks, Lap.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.